Hey guys, welcome back to Hear Our Voices. This is your host, Khadijah D. And welcome back to listening to our fabulous show, if I might say so myself. This is a podcast where we tell stories, give resources, and change the narrative of homelessness. Yes, and we've been doing this for quite a while now. And we are part of the Family Action Board. That is where is a peer-led group of people who are in families who've been through the shelter system in New York City. We are hiring on a rolling kind of basis. We're going to be starting doing call outs, callbacks, whatever, um, in the next couple of months. So if you want to be a person to be able to work with us and be on our different teams and buckets or whatever we have, we definitely go down below. Put We're gonna be having volunteer positions. We're gonna have people who want to just join rallies and things like that. So if you would like to do that, definitely join that. To qualify for, you have to have been in shelter, housing insecure with your family, whether you're the child in that family or you're the adult in that family. And if you're a child in that family, if you're an adult in that family, you have to have a child who's under 21. If you're a person who would like to share your story on here, we'd definitely love to have you and to hear your story and hear your what happened to you and things like that. So we definitely love to have you on the show. And if you're a person with resources, we'd love to have you too. And sit back and
Other.
relax for part.
We can push for changes that will positively impact all of us and also gives us a stronger voice. Right? It's not just this one community trying to get this one benefit, but it's about all people recognizing that this is what we deserve. It's not even what we need, it's what we deserve. And if we start to work together and collaborate in that way, then I think we can really push for the changes that are necessary for us to not just live but thrive.
I think what the government does best is keep people divided so well. And then we don't even realize it's happening. A lot of time in homelessness, like if you don't know New York City, if you're new to this podcast, New York City is broken down in different parts, right? We have family homelessness with children, family homelessness with adults. We have youth, runaway youth, which is DYCD. I want to say 18 and 24. I find they also do
Hmm.
younger depending on what situation is and stuff like that. We
Hmm.
have DV, which is a different sector, but they have DV also in Path. That's is a whole different, there's a whole hotline for that. And with the one in Path is called Nova. And they have is one more. Single men and single women. So it's two more, right?
Yeah,
These are how New York City is divided.
yeah.
Mind you, most places don't even have family shelters in America. I'm talking about like, but in New York City, we're divided in that way alone. So they claim they have no money, but they have money for everything else we didn't ask them for, right? So we are fighting over this one pot of money, usually, because they say we don't have no other money anywhere else. So basically, you got to fight like to the dogs just to make sure you can get this. And we have to fight, and we're fighting each other, but we
Hmm.
forget that we're all either homeless or formerly homeless. It shouldn't be us fighting against each other to get this one pot of money. We should be saying, no, you have the money because we see what you're doing with it, and we don't want that money to go to that place. We want it to be put onto this and to make sure that this problem is solved. Granted, we have other problems in New York City too, not only homelessness, but this is one area where needs help. Honestly, I feel like the most compared to a lot of things that we are fighting for, right? So
Yeah.
it's like it's interesting how the government really, especially for New York City, how they really divide us, and they do it so slickly, like because everybody has different problems, and if you're in a family, if you're an adult, and it's true, we do have different things. We have McKinney Vento for the youth, I mean for the children and the schools, and we have if you're an older person, and we understand that, but I think there's a way that we can have everybody probably not in the same shelter, but have everybody still get the same thing. For example, City Feps.
Yeah.
They have it for only for DHS shelters.
Hmm.
HPD, DV shelters outside, DYCD, which for the youth, they don't get that. But yet those people are still homeless. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, why would not cover for everybody who lives in New York City to get that particular thing when it's homelessness? That's how
Yeah.
they divide us.
It's what it's really a symptom of is a system that is incredibly poorly designed in
Right.
that they the system is designed in a way that they create a system, they realize that it doesn't work for people, and then they add on another piece to it, and then they keep adding on pieces to try to make the system work better. But then you end up in a system that is so fragmented that it is hard to access. And the worst part about it for me is that people who need the support the most are the have the hardest time to access it, because if, like you talked about, the different paths to shelter systems in New York, but it's not like there's necessarily just one intake place that you go to and then you get routed. Like, there are different
Right.
intake places. You got to tell your story, which oftentimes is a pretty traumatic, harmful story to tell. You have to share it with multiple different people, multiple different caseworkers. And in order for you to get the services, you have to have the right hours, you want to go to the right address. And all of this is designed in a way that makes it inaccessible to people that need it the most. And then the criticism will be like, well, the system is there, it's there for people to access, why don't they access it? And I'm like, well, you don't exactly make it easy, right? Like,
Right.
it's so many hurdles to jump through. And shouldn't we, for people that are most vulnerable and most in need, shouldn't we make things accessible? But that's not how decision makers and leaders have designed our system. So that's what we end up with.
That is definitely a true thing. Back in the day, I was told, because I wasn't in this, like, I've been only in this work from like 2020, to be honest. I've been doing other like nonprofits over my years, but I wasn't really into the homeless thing until about 2020, 2019. I did like a, a PSA kind of thing. So that's kind of when my career kind of started in that area. But it's, I was told that they had intake centers, more intake centers other than Path in New York City, right?
Hmm.
Apparently they closed down. To me, that was a very
Hmm.
dumb idea. I
Yeah.
particularly think that I put this idea out so many places. I don't care who hears it, because I feel like you should take my advice and go with it. Because apparently they're putting it out there, they want to have more intake centers. That should have been a duh, in general, especially when they have the rule saying that the youngest child out of this family should be able to be near their school. Like if you have five kids and you have the youngest child, they usually try to put you in a shelter close to the school. Does that really happen most of the time? It doesn't. They claim they're trying their best, but I'm not really sure because a lot of parents are complaining about it. So they claim they're trying. Is it really happening? I don't know. What I suggest they should do, they have, they closed down some HRA centers in New York City. They should pick one or
Hmm.
two out of each borough and make sure that, because if you know, in Brooklyn they have the NYCHA Center right there. They have I think the HRA building's still there. I haven't been in a while. I'm not on benefits anymore. And they had the Medicaid. They have everything for PA public assistance in that building. And the NYCHA, when you have to come outside to go to the NYCHA building. But everything on that block, I feel like is a good example of how it should be set up. I think every HRA center should have a NYCHA building there or next to that in that building. I also think they should have a path intake center at these places. Maybe you don't want to do it at every HRA center, but maybe you should. I think it just makes it easier for people not to have to travel. I was in Queens when I was pregnant with my baby, and I had to go all the way to the Bronx. That's crazy. I live on the edge of Queens to go to in the middle of the Bronx. I know nothing about the Bronx.
Hmm.
So it's like,
Hmm.
to me, you're making an inconvenience for people. You do not care. I'm at one point with 5, 6, 7 months pregnant. And I went there several times. At the time, I got denied several times. That's a different story. So it's like if you put the HRA centers to have a version of Path in it, and actually close down the Bronx Path Center and put it in their HRA building and probably use that building for housing or something else. Because I feel like a lot of these buildings nowadays, people are not really in them like that. They could be put down and put for housing for do something what we actually need in New York City. Close that building
Hmm.
down, put it for housing, and have those centers, like have those things. HRA center buildings usually have they do the one-shot deals, they do all the stuff that you need services for. So put everything we need services for in one place, so people have to be going around New York City looking for the help. I think it's ridiculous, quite frankly. Another thing with Path, with the they just put into, I want to say it's not a bill, but they just looked at the self attestation rule, because if you don't know, people have been in shelter for over a year and they can't get certain services because they're not eligible. Which, if you don't know anything about Path, you go to Path and you say, I want to now, they're supposed to always let you in, but I want to
Hmm.
go into shelter. And they say, okay, fine. But you have to be eligible to go to shelter. So they'll give you a place to stay if they're nice. They usually do. Now they're much better with it. Before they used to like say no and give you nowhere. But now in the past couple of years, especially since COVID, I feel like they've been more friendlier to let you sleep at a shelter for at least 10 days. Sometimes it can be over, but they say on paper it's 10 days, but people have been there longer, right? And you have to show them why you need shelter. You have to explain to them why. You have to say where you were in the past 2 years. Mind you, single people, which is how they divide us again, single people only have to prove for a year, right?
Hmm.
Families have to prove for 2 years. So
Yeah.
it, which is crazy. And for me, it seemed like families get single people getting much easier. Even sometimes they would have the full amount of the 1 year, to be honest. But I should probably ask more singles to get that information correct. Maybe I'm just biased. I could be, but
I don't remember anybody having it easy, and I do remember having to go to DHS shelter hearings, like actually pursue litigation
yes,
about this address issue. And they're like,
yes,
well, there's a gap, so that means that they could have lived somewhere, and can they go back to live there? And I'm like, no. Also,
exactly,
that gap could be possibly that they unfortunately were living on the streets, like they didn't have any other place to live, and they're like, we're not sure. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like we make this emergency benefit available to people, again, for people not looking to live in the shelter system long term, and then we spend more money, we spend all these resources trying to deny them access to this emergency resource. And
exactly.
it's like the incentives in the system don't really make sense. And again, to me, it's we of course are focused here on housing, and this isn't the only place that this happens, though. And it happens in kind of all the systems and machines that people have to go through on a day-to-day basis. And I think it's just a symptom of a poorly designed system that isn't there to actually help people, but rather is to pay lip service to the idea that services are available.
It's true. So with that rule, a person they say you have to be eligible in shelter to get the services in shelter. So you can stay there, but I won't help you to get housing, which is ridiculous to me. So a person can go, which I've seen people go stay in a shelter for a year, can't get services. They have a place to stay to sleep with rats and roaches and probably far away from their school and their job, but they're not able to help them. Well, they can help them, but the rule is that you can't help them until they're eligible. So they have the self-attestation rule, basically saying if a person said they're homeless, believe them and help them. That's basically I'm not gonna give you all the big words and being fancy. I'm gonna tell you what it is. That's what it basically means in a nutshell for that rule. And hopefully it gets pushed to the people who need to sign off on it so we can get this together because a lot more people would not be in shelter. Well, probably they will because they still have a city FEPS voucher, and that's another problem, maybe for another day. But yeah.
There's always another one to talk about at some other time.
I know it's always something. It's like the policy and advocacy work is never done. It's like, man, it's a lot going on. It really is. I don't know what else to. It just seems like it's always something. I don't know when it is ever going to be never something. I'm not sure when we're going to get it together,
I,
but I
I
don't know.
would posit that we can only get it together if we get the right type of leaders in place that can actually change the policies. And that's exactly why I decided to run for Congress. People are like, well, you've been doing this work for a while. Why now? And it's like, well, I think we're at a time where we realize that the systems and institutions that we have don't work. They haven't worked for a long time. This isn't recent news, I think, to any of us that have
Right.
been going through them. But I think some people are starting to wake up and realize that actually things don't work. And until we get the right type of leadership in place that understands what it means to work with people, serve people, and to show up for community, I feel like we're going to end up back at a place where we get systems designed or policies designed in a way that don't actually benefit people.
I think Stephanie, if y'all listened to the episode before this one, Stephanie was talking about how people saw how bad it was in 2020 when COVID happened. She was
Hmm.
saying for a while she couldn't get a voucher. And then COVID happened. It's kind of like even though it's a curse, because like people are dying, this is happening.
Yeah.
Because of everything happening, people realized how bad DV cases were, how bad these things were, because it was harder to kind of hide certain things because we are all confined to our own humble abode, right? So a lot of things came out in the open, and I think the system really realized how bad it was and how much we were really strained, and where we really need the help. It was like it couldn't get help as fast or even at all because a lot of things were already messed up. And again, I'm sorry for the families who have lost loved ones and things like that, but I think COVID showed us in general how messed up we really are. And we shouldn't have to have another COVID to show us how bad it is. It's horrible out here. It really is. But yeah, it's rough. It really is rough. I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna do. What's our first step we're gonna do? Like, if you had to, like, other than you said housing, Section 8
Hmm.
and things like that.
Yeah.
So, do you think, in your opinion, is that gonna be something you could actually get done? Like, do you see your people around you who are they talking about this? This is like a thing on the table. Like us, the people, we think housing is a problem, but do you think the higher ups
Yeah.
care enough? Like you're only one person out of all these people. Do you think in
Yeah.
their mind that's is important to change that thing to get it better for the people, or that's not on the top of their priority list?
Yeah. One out of 435 in Congress, right? And one
Right.
out of 535 across the House of Representatives and the Senate. Housing is a problem in every single community across
Right.
the country that I've been in. Anywhere that I've gone and worked with local officials, local leaders, community members, I've asked them what the biggest need is. The answer is always housing. And so there is enough, I think, enough awareness of the fact that this is the critical issue that so many communities are facing, and that the fixes that we're pushing out there, or that at least that I'm advocating for, are ones that are attainable, like attainable today. I'm a firm believer in we need big bold vision, and we need a massive influx of resources and infrastructure to build sustainable housing. We need to end the Wall Street speculation on our housing that is rapidly diminishing our supply. But I'm also of the belief that we can do something right now. My work for the past 20 years has recognized the urgency that people have. And the longer that we sit around and wait and debate policies, the more people are harmed every single day. So let's do both. Let's build, let's create access to programs like Section 8. Let's pour more resources into building more affordable housing. And then let's also work on a long-term real infrastructure solution to make sure that housing doesn't continue to be an issue. And I think only when we do things in tandem will people see that government can actually work and deliver things for them, and help them believe that because it does work, that they're in for the long haul of seeing the bolder vision come into fruition.
I want to add affordable housing needs to be actually be affordable housing because a lot of people say affordable housing, and when I look at how much the rent costs, I'm like, that's not affordable to me. And so I want it to be real affordable housing, especially for New York City because they used it.
Could-
It's crazy.
yeah. Can we talk about that for 1 second?
And
Are you all familiar with this idea of the area median
yes,
income, the
that's what I was gonna
AMI,
say. The
right?
AMI, yes, that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna talk about.
So the AMI, which is this calculation that is done to determine whether something should be housing based upon the income of the community that it's measuring. So it's picking some midpoint of what the income is in that area, and that's how they decide how something's affordable. The problem is for New York that this calculation doesn't just include New York City, it includes
Right,
surrounding areas as well.
that's
And
the
so it
problem.
drives, right? It drives up the number. And it's like, well, that's not actually local to the community that you're building affordable housing in. It should be
Thank
like the 20,
you.
it should be like the 10, 20 blocks, right? That's the
Exactly.
community. But instead, we got places like Westchester being
Restaurant,
included in there, and you're
yes.
like, what? You're like, how did this get calculated? And that makes, and then it's like, oh, it's like, oh, there's a new housing lottery up, and the AMI for a studio, you have to make like $90,000, and you're like, what is this? What is this?
Thank
And then the rent is
you.
like 3 grand. You're like, how is this affordable?
Exactly. That's the same thing I'm saying. And I just don't understand the AMI needs to be changed. Cause I just
Yeah,
don't. I talk about this before in City Hall, and I'm like, what are we doing about this? I feel like it's not talked about enough because you're building all these buildings. Everywhere I feel like I see a Housing Connect building. And when you look at, like you said, at the rent, at how much it costs, and how much you have to make to live in that. Not saying all of them are like that, but too much of them is like that. And I'm like, I can't afford this. This is
right.
crazy. So that needs, I don't know who to talk to, who the policy, I would
This,
definitely go there because, but it needs to change.
these are your elected officials, right? This is their responsibility. And I know the AMI that oftentimes you're using is a federal calculation that it's set. Well, work to change that, right? This is something that needs to be done. And people talk a lot about how government is is bureaucratic and it's hard to make change, and especially in Congress where you have really, it's really gridlocked. And sure, I understand those things, but we need leadership that isn't going to settle for that, that isn't going to accept that. And we know that every community across the country needs housing, whether they're red, whether they're blue, it don't really matter. So let's start building to solutions.
That's for sure. I think also, especially for because New York City, I don't know about other states. I live here my life, so I know most about New York City. I'm surprised when I found out a couple of years ago because like we do everything with five boroughs and then the state. So for them to do that and push other things in our little city, which is a big
Hmm.
city, but is ridiculous. I think it's outrageous. That needs to stop. And I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna try to really push. I feel like I talk about it, but I'm not pushing as I'm supposed to. And I need to get on that this year, guys. So keep my feet to the fire for me to tell you information about that in a couple of months on how we can make a change on doing that so our affordable housing can actually be affordable housing to us.
Right on. I'm here with you.
Do you have any last words for the people of Hear Our Voices?
Sure. So as I said, I'm Vichal Kumar. I'm a public defender and I'm running for Congress. I've never run for office before, and I'm doing it now because we need someone in the room that has fought the fights and supported community members their entire lives and understands what they need. We have a system that doesn't work. We have a government that doesn't respond to people. And we have things like ICE tearing families apart. Housing has been treated as a commodity instead of a right, and corporate consolidation is making everything unaffordable, all while we're using resources and money to fund wars and genocides in Gaza. And it's time that we stop those things and really make government work for people again. And I think we do that by bringing the right leaders into Congress. And I'm not from politics, I'm from the fight. And that's the fight that I'm going to take to DC.
I'm not gonna lie though, going for Congress and not like a city council member is very ambitious.
It
It's a
is.
big jump.
It is ambitious, and but I think that that is type of the bold ambition that we need right now when it comes to making our systems work. And look, I'm the only one in this race that has actually built something that has worked for people and that has worked for New Yorkers. And I think that type of experience is exactly what we need in Congress today.
Yes. So guys, thank you for coming to this episode. Please follow us on social media. If you want to be a resource on this podcast, definitely DM me or email me. I'm starting to check my email a little bit more. So if I got a team member, that would be great. But yes. We definitely need you on here. We definitely need you to be on our sides. And if you look down below, please go on that link to see what policies. Well, first we gotta see who you are. And then when we have any policy things that we're pushing and you want to come out to rallies or help us on certain projects, we'll definitely email you back to be a part of our group. If you want to volunteer, that could also down below. So thank you so much to coming to hear our voices where we tell stories, give resources, and change the narrative of homelessness. Bye.
Thank you.